Welcome back. News Hour continues right now. Joshua Kipto, Nandi County Assembly Speaker, is joining me, so as Peter Imotok, who's Makongeni, member of County Assembly. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We still have a lot of time to talk about this. But, gentlemen, I'd like to begin from Kipto. Your understanding of bottom-up, because today we've seen a lot of struggle to explain what bottom-up economics is all about. Perhaps let me get to you, Speaker. What do you understand with this concept?
Now, bottom-up, I think, where people are struggling to get to understand is there's the concept, there's the policy framework, and then there's the politics behind it. And I am empathizing with the lack of understanding. Bottom-up basically is a concept where we are saying, where do we invest our money as a country? We raise taxes. The government prioritizes interests of the citizens. That's why we do the budgetary allocation. Bottom-up is about taking the money to where the majority are. If we look at how the Kenyan society is stratified, we have the majority being the poor. So when you talk about bottom-up, it is not a new thing. It is something that has been implemented before. Why are we praising Kibaki for economic improvements done post-2003? It is basically money was put in the growth sectors. What are the growth sectors? It is the poor. Agriculture. That's a very important component. Majority of agriculture people are the peasants, are the rural folk. When you talk about entrepreneurship, SMEs, you're talking about the smaller people. And let me pick a policy. When government came up with a policy and said that they're opening up the system for people to get motorcycles, border borders. I was in high school. Border borders weren't there. The motorcycles that were available as per our government policy then, unless you had 250,000, you couldn't have a motorcycle. But the moment the government policy changed, you saw up to 1 million people being employed. That is an example of a bottom-up. Okay. So bottom-up is basically putting money in the growth sector and target being the lowly. In this case, we are not just throwing money at the people, but rather investing. It's about government policy that targets the poor in their everyday hustle. Okay.
Speaker, if I get you right, this is not a new thing.
It's not a new
then why is the hustlers selling it like a new thing to Kenya?
They are selling it because as an agenda, the main agenda, it has always been a side note. Can I tell you why?
Really?
Let me explain why.
Okay.
When I say it's not a new thing, it has been a side note is because when you talked about the Kibaki system, they started it in 2003, whatever, 2003, 2004. Mm-hmm. But coming to post-2005, it was trickled down again, whereby it is about big business, big investment. When you come to 2007 post-election, why do you think we did economic stimulus? It was basically to start reviving the economy again, and money was shifted towards that group. Economic stimulus was tokenism, because it was only done for 2008, 2009, basically to resuscitate the economy. Then enter 2013. Instead of Jubilee regime going further with that, they decided for them to go for big infrastructure, big business, big money.
Abandoning.
And as we speak now, why do you think you'll have economic statistics saying that our growth curve is 5%, 6%? But at the same time, when you go to the local person, they tell you they don't feel the economy. Okay. Look, let me use an example of the difference between trickle-down and bottom-up. How much money did we spend on SGR? Up to 750 billion. How much of that money was felt within this country? Nothing. Everything was done in China. From procurement, purchase of the goods that are used, people who did the project, the companies that did the project, that is now a trickle-down example. Okay. It's a big glittering project, but we never felt it. How about if you pick the 750 billion, take 100 and say we are basically targeting, for example, agriculture. And we look for ways in which, if we put money, let me give an example. You can choose to do subsidy. You can choose to say we are doing fish farm. And that was done under economic subsidy for 2008, 2009. But it was done as a tokenism. Now, the reason why it's an agenda now and William Ruto is bringing it to the table is basically it will be the main ideology. Okay. It will be the main agenda.
You have mentioned Kibaki government, you've mentioned the coalition government, you've also mentioned the mega projects being done by the Jubilee government where William Ruto is. I'm coming to you, Peter, in a moment, but just one more question on this. Don't you think the people who've tried and tested the system understand why they reverted to probably mega projects instead of doing the bottom-up approach? Don't you think, because it was practical for an economist, President Kibaki, to try it, test it, and realize it's not working, I need infrastructure to transport agriculture you're talking about, then once I set up all that infrastructure, then people can manage to take their produce to the markets and sell. Don't you think they tried and tested and they knows what works, as opposed to William Ruto, who's testing what he doesn't know if it will work or not?
Now, I don't think you are a new person to the Kenyan system. The Kenyan system is a captured system. The big business and the political elite, who are tone deaf, dictate and decide what government policy to pursue. So when you saw the re-emergence of trickle down, it is basically for big business. Okay. A few people who I'll call entrepreneurs. And let me just finish by giving you a quote. Nyerere made it very clear and talked about development without the people is not development. Okay. In the sense that, yes, as you say, we can do the road. The Romans did the road, but once the Roman Empire collapsed, did they take the roads? The people, okay. Once that regime came and passed, we all forgot about that. So when you talk about bottom-up, is where you put the people at the center, and you're looking at the mass numbers. Okay. You look at the US, what is the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans? The Democrats are the ones now saying big business has been running the agenda for the American system. It is time to talk about, for them, it's focused on middle class. Now for us, our biggest segment of population is not middle class. It is who are below the poverty line. Okay. Simple.
Okay. We'll discuss further. Peter, what do you understand with this?
You know, for me, number one, let me say that Ken Mijungu, I don't know how we will understand ourselves this narrative, because the proponents of the narrative don't understand itself. And it's played out today morning on social media all over. The likes of Alice Wahome couldn't explain their own baby.
At least Kipchua has tried to explain.
Their own baby.
He's tried to.
I'm just coming to speaker.
Yes.
I'm just imagining a country whereby that the progress of our country is based on tokenism. It's based on deals. That's probably what we are saying. That you are telling somebody in Muranga that the only way you can grow, believe on a narrative that one day you'll be a rich person. How? We have 1 million border borders in Kenya. Now we put another 3 million border borders. Who will ride on a border border?
Everyone will have a border border.
So what we are saying, the bottom-up approach, it's a narrative that's geared towards a political system, not an economic system. Okay. Because we cannot make decisions based on, as politicians, based on political imagination, not factual facts in economics.
For instance, someone has seen you on TV and they are now calling.
I wanted just to call out the simplicity
of an explanation.
Just a minute.
Let me finish that.
Just a minute. I'm trying to understand one thing about the bottom-up approach. I come from Makongeni, where I've led for the last 9 years. How does it affect a common young person from Maringo? You want to tell me the government of the day will come to Maringo and tell Otieno that I want to be a millionaire? Look at this, Mijungu. In 2013, when the TNA government came into office, we were told that based on this, we will write kuna kazi. Who was the owner of the statements? Is the owner of the hustler narrative now. It has changed all of a sudden. Hakuna kazi, the hustler now needs something else to be told, you will succeed on this. It doesn't make sense.
Are they promising hope? According to you, this is the hope that they are promising, and what's wrong with that?
This hope is not realistic. For instance, Ken Mijungu, in this country, you know there's a youth fund, right? Are we agreeing?
Yes.
There's a women fund. Yes? Do you agree? Who runs this government? It's the president and the deputy president, right? If the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya believed on bottom-up approach, and there are these institutional memories very clearly, the youth fund, how much have you allocated every year for the youth fund? These are institutions that can channel to empower the young people through a structural process. The narrative being sold in this country that I am a chicken seller, that one day you'll be a billionaire like me. That's the hope.
Okay.
But the way you get to those billions is through deals, not through knowledge, science, industrialization, neither. It's get a deal, you'll become a millionaire.
They have seen a vacuum, Peter, that they are trying to fill.
Which vacuum? The vacuum being seen here is a political vacuum. It's not a cure vacuum. A cure vacuum in the sense that if today I have to solve the issue of Nairobi youths, the current county government of Nairobi, how many youths have they employed? The current government of Kenya, how many youths have they employed from 2013 to date? They're not saying those issues, Ken Mijungu. We're asking ourselves, how many businesses have we created in Kenya?
Okay.
Motorcycles and wheelbarrow. It's not a business.
Okay.
Ken.
Kipto,
It's a necessity in every home.
hope. You're peddling hope out there.
It is not about peddling hope. Let me first demystify the simplicity that
With the
my
motorbike
friend is trying
analogy.
to talk about.
Yes.
It's not about taking money and buying 1 million, 2 million motorbikes. That is the misconception. Number two, bottom-up is not about promising a chicken seller that in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, he'll be a billionaire. That is where we get it wrong. The issue here is, can a poor or someone from humble background doing a common hustle be able to be facilitated through policy? Because the biggest tool a government has is policy. Can they be facilitated through policy? Business environment being easy for such a person to thrive in his or her own small way and be able to achieve. And let me explain a simple thing. Devolution is the best example I can use. Before 2013, money was kept at the center. So it was dependent on money being spread out, dependent on the person manning the ministry.
Okay.
Devolution brought it down. If you come to Nandi County, if you talk about the budget for Nandi County, we go all the way down to sub-county to the ward level. Even Nairobi City County, before they handed over to NMS, they had their ward development. Now, let me come to now what bottom-up is all about. Let me give a very simplistic way you can explain this. Growth sectors of the economy, for me, I look at agriculture as a very good example to use. Ken, where you come from, if it is Migori, and you talk about what are the common agricultural practices carried out there, how can the government policy be at the center of discussion legislatively, at the cabinet level, financially, that if we take it in a way, let me give an example, and we say we are choosing to zero rate a tax policy that favors the fish farmers. Let me give an example. Number two, we put money into cottage industries that targets the same fish farmers, so that you are promising this farmer that try do this, there'll be market for that. Let's organize the cooperatives. Let us facilitate them. You see how simplicity you've gone. You've not used a lot of money.
Okay.
You've not done patronage system. And for me, if you talk about the bottom up, it is about money, for example, more to devolution. Let the national government spread out the cash on growth sectors of the economy. We are not keen on the glittering things. And I'm happy you've raised a question. The deputy president, where he's been, and if you look at his track record, when he was in agriculture ministry, what was he pushing for? Subsidizing of fertilizer. Why? It had a direct impact on making it possible for even the small farmer to be able to undertake agriculture well.
Okay.
So the agenda right now is about, let's have a discussion and say, how best do we cover for that? Let me use the last example. You have the clothing industry. We always talk about big industries and all that. Do we forget that if you look at the clothing industry, if you look at the Southeast Asian countries, the sweatshops, that is very popular, and it is said even the big brands like Nike and the rest produce from there. How do they do it? It is basically empowerment for those people, creating incubation centers. Where he comes from, Makongeni, we just don't reinvent anything. The young people in Makongeni already have works to do. But can you create a supply value chain that can be able to, for example, help them assess markets?
Okay.
That is
the other
bottom
thing,
up.
yes, the other thing is mentioned as you comment is we are promising, so apart from hope, there's a promise in it, which the people who will be voting must rely on. I'd like to conclude this discussion with asking about the political promises, but you want to say something?
Let me understand. The Speaker wants Kipto also to tell us that this government of Jubilee has been running without a policy
It has. Take
for the young people. Because if you tell me the principal assistant of the president did not know from 2013 there's existence of Mamamboga and the Juakali artisan, it's a fallacy. Why am I saying so? Ken Mijungu, as a country, as young as I am with Kipto, we must be also careful which kind of hope are we selling to our people. If I sell hope today that a young man from my village will have a tie like Ken Mijungu without going to school, am I not lying that young man? I am trying to give an impossible hope to him that he will be like Ken Mijungu without going to a journalism school. Is it possible? It's not possible. Tell me facts of life that a young man from Moranga is growing tea for the last 10 years, 9 years now. What has the government under the principal assistant has done to make that young man from Moranga to have more tea? He has said, well, that from the time the deputy president was the minister of agriculture, at some point he gave subsidies for fertilizers. How did it end? History is very clear for us. What happened with agriculture? This is about 2 years ago, 1 year ago. People are demonstrating in Eldoret, crying. The same system created cartels on top of the agricultural sector. and stole everything from the sector. So what you are saying, you cannot steal from this hand and pretend this hand will protect on behalf of the people. It doesn't make sense. The bottom line here for all of us as Kenyans is to understand what kind of hope are we selling to our young people.
What if the young people don't even have that hope so that they have to hear it from someone? What if that is what the young people are looking forward to?
Hopes, Kelmi Jungu, we have no ethos as a country.
How
we
is
have no
ethos and hope?
We don't have. Today, a young man from my estate will tell you, if you are an MCA, you become a rich man. Is it true? That the essence for you to be a rich man, you must be an MCA? No. You must work hard. And Speaker knows here. For you to be an MCA, you have an approach. The three roles you have to exercise. If you say, I become an MCA to be rich, it means you become a thug. So you will not exercise your three roles as an MCA. Basically, let's not sell hope, which is taking our generation to dogs.
You're not answering me, Peter. What if the youth are so badly off that they even need to hang on hope?
Why are they
It's allowed.
Yeah. No, let him answer.
Just one thing that I wanted to butt in.
Yes.
Why do you think the young people have no hope? It is simply because it is always promise after promise that doesn't make sense. And that is why...
Or doesn't materialize.
In fact, the reason why bottom-up offers more or less an easy passage to sustain such a hope is be as practical as possible. One question I will be able to answer is a question of how much of the government policy has been biased towards the informal sector. Where are the young people? Are you aware, Ken, as we speak right now, no single degree program, diploma program, has a guarantee that you finish, you get a job. So you have a younger generation that is already out there knowing that I'm not going to school to get a job. In fact, the current notion that personally as a speaker and as a young person, when I interact with my fellow young people, I tell them we need to open our minds and consider innovation and consider creativity. Now, how are you able to enhance creativity and innovation? That's where bottom-up comes in by saying how much of the government policy has been geared towards the informal sector. Number two, how much of the government policy is proactive for the small, medium enterprise? Not just giving money. In fact, I am against the idea of setting up funds. I am better or I'm more at home when you tell me we are going to do a policy. Let me give, for example, if you talk about ICT hubs, we are going to zero rate. Anyone who is going to invest in ICT hubs will be facilitated by government, and government doesn't need to put money. Promises, but something practical. In fact, government loses nothing. Number two, if you talk about initiatives within the informal sector, our challenge was started by the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, where he say, buy Kenya, build Kenya. And Twitter picked it up. David India and the rest say, let us put it to test. Anyone would pitch an idea they were having, and most of those people are young people. Something interesting you could see, the feedback loop was showing that people are now getting opportunities. Where has government been to plug in the difference between the supply and the demand? Bottom up now comes and says, how can we enhance the informal sector? Let us take them out of the shadows. Why? We chase them through DCI, we chase them through KRA, we chase them through KEBS. There's so much regulation to the point the people at the lower end don't get the chance. Let me finish. And you know, I'm happy for Makongeni because that's where, for example, the garages and the Juakali sector thrives. You can imagine if we go to such people and make them the center of the government policy. And the only way we can make them a center of government policy is we don't fight them, we encourage them, we facilitate them. What more do you want to understand about bottom up?
Speaker, to understand where we come as young people. I'm also still young, just like you. The question I'm asking today is, since 2017, since the narrative began, Ken Mijungu, have you had anyone from this team explain to Kenya what it means? No one. What they'll tell you, we are here for Mamambogas. We are here to Juakali, Artisan. We are here to explain that we are the change that we need. The question is, let's be practical. Today you cannot be in a church, and then you become an elder. You fail to baptize people in the same church, and then you pretend to become a pastor, I'll baptize you. It's not possible.
But Kipto, I have a question that he raised. We need to finish this topic. I have a question that he raised. He asked, how do you, because every time I hear, even the last campaigns in Kiambaa, the gentleman who won the election identified with the hustlers. He wore a jacket that perhaps you'll see people in the morning, the early birds will wear shoes that are funny shoes, just to endear themselves to the voter. It's a political lie that sometimes is swallowed by the voters. But my question is this: how do you sell a promise to a young person if look at yourself from the high school, you don't have any job, but one day you shall be like me. How do you sell such a promise to a young person and expect them, based on that promise, to vote for you, and then you make it good? Why would you do that as a politician?
Good. An answer to this is, and that's why I'm saying that is where we get the misconception about bottom-up. You are not selling an idea to a young person and telling them they will be a replica of you.
But that's what they say, Kipto.
Let me explain. They sell their individual stories. I will tell you as Kipto, this is what I've been able to achieve. Right from public primary school, boarding school, high school, Kapsabet boys, etc. That will be my story. And I'll tell them, the hard work and the struggle I've passed through, I wouldn't want a fellow young person, for example, to undergo the same hardship which are brought by government.
Okay.
Rather, the sell we are selling to the young people would be, look, a government should be sitting there mindful of your destiny, mindful of your potential, and be there as facilitative, not to be the one stopping or creating roadblocks to your success. Okay. And let me come to this. Let me finish. No, we give you time. And let me finish about this. They are saying that when UDA, for example, or this hustler narrative is being sold, it is being sold to Mambogas and everything. He's a politician, for heaven's sake. He's won 2 elections. He knows there is about selling an agenda, which in this case is to win people around an idea, and there is the policy framework, or there's a policy formulation. When you go to a dais, you first need to bring people to just understand the general concept, that what is it? We want to make you to be at the center of the policy. And that is the most important thing.
Okay.
It is wrong for you to start promising people, for example, and tell them we'll do this road, we'll do... no, tell them first the foundation agenda. We are selling an agenda, and tell this Mamamboga, this Boda guy, this everyday young person, innovative, every single person, and tell them we want to make you center of this agenda. And let me tell you the beautiful thing, Ken. I'm part of a process. I think the team decided, let every region come up with its ideas. Do you know the beauty about that? We as Rift Valley, for example, will own ideas from Kajiado all the way to Turkana. Western people will own the agenda. Do you know the beauty about that? It is used to create a guarantee against a promise just being a promise.
Okay.
If we let one person promise the rest, he will forget.
Okay.
Ken,
thank you.
You've not been answered.
Peter.
You've asked a question. This somebody flying in Eurocopters all over. He's telling you today, if you bring me in, I'll bring you from down to where I am. Another question is a typical example today. I saw on social media, the example of our MP Gachagua, who was fined 12 million. That guy has moral authority to tell a young man, I am a hustler. And he paid instantly. So what you are saying, Mijungu here, let's really realize our kids, our children needs a future, not a narrative that will pit our nation against each other. For today, Mijungu, if you walk in Mathare, if they don't know it's Mijungu, they'll come for you as the haves. This one has, as with hustlers. What will happen for this country? Even the most developed country in the world, which is the US, every democratic party concentrates on the middle class of the society that can shape up to bring up there.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, what I'm asking Kipto, I wonder what will Gachagua say when he goes to a rally for the hustlers? Is he saying, I'm a hustler? After coughing 12 million instantly. Is that mentorship to these young people?
We need to end the discussion. That's a question to you.
Maybe an answer to that is, let us not personalize a discussion.
I'm saying,
you know what?
I'm giving an example. It's a proponent.
I've picked that. And I want to answer you. When you pick Gachagua, and I could see you are interviewing Mudhama, what these guys have done, they are cherry picking. They pick 1, 2, 3 people. And it's not wrong for someone to be rich. It is not wrong for someone to be poor. It is how society is stratified. No, let me finish. It is how the society is stratified. But what these guys carefully do, they cherry pick and say, look at the person selling the agenda. And the question I'll ask them, if I can be able to tell my story, where I came from, where I'm going, but more importantly, if I'm saying, I'm not promising you that you'll be like me, but I'm promising you that the policy agenda will create a fair ground. Number 2, we'll create a policy framework or a foundation that brings the majority to the table.
Okay.
And in fact, just to answer him.
But the question is,
look,
the question
let
is,
me finish.
Ken,
Let me
the
finish.
question
No,
is,
let me finish.
It's a very simple question.
No.
Ken,
I have understood your question.
Very simple question.
No, let me finish.
What is, so that he can answer, I need to, yes.
Where were we from 2013 to date? What's the awakening call?
Okay.
The answer to that is, it is like asking Samia Suluhu, where was she when Magufuli was running amok the late Magufuli
But we are
was running
saying
amok.
the same person speaking this is still in power.
Look, the presidency, as we see now, is 100% under Uhuru Kenyatta. And in any case, in the second term, he should speak as government, because the entire ODM machinery is government. They are more government than any other person.
Where is the DP?
Deputy President has not been in government since 2019. That's a fact. And
he's a deputy president.
Deputy President.
By name.
As per the law.
By name. By name.
What do you mean?
A deputy president
What do you
even
mean?
who cannot even be invited for cabinet meetings.
Oh.
President
You say
Samia
so?
Suluhu, who was a former deputy president, came in.
We are getting some
Deputy
lights
president
here.
is cut out.
So he confirms.
I don't think so. Lastly,
Yes,
let us always value a person. Like, for example, the deputy president is pitching an agenda for his regime.
Okay.
He's not even bothered about the Uhuru regime. It is about his regime and the future promise. So Kenyans will have to look at him as a person.
Of Kenya,
Yes.
you confirm to us on this national TV, he's not bothered
But people can disagree
what the
on
president
agenda.
does. He does not bother what the government they said is doing. He does not bother.
He is bothered, and in fact, he is now coming out and saying very clearly, trickle down has not worked. Jubilee has been all about trickle down. I am giving a different
Okay, Mijungu,
concept. Thank you.
on this point,
Yes. And we have forced
Speaker-
even Baba to
Speaker
come
is
speaking
confirming-
about the same issues.
speakers
And
confirming.
Musalia Mudavadi, that's
Yes.
our video.
Why are they talking about the
Speaker
issues?
is confirming that the trickle-down effect is not working, right?
Thank you. Fact.
Based from which government?
All the way
same
since
government.
independence, since 1963.
We've been practicing
Kenya
the trickle
government,
down.
in fact, we killed evolution in the 60s to entrench trickle down.
Okay.
It was
But Ken
about
Mijungi,
patronage.
when they say that they
Devolution
want...
is a concept
Wait. You've come to a point I want to say. These are the same people who are really opposed on devolution succeed. In which manner? When the BBI came, he's a speaker, we sit with him in CAF. We say the CAF, we are adopting BBI. Why? Because we understood
But it doesn't
we will
determine
get funds.
if the county assembly
No,
is-
we'll get money on the ground. But they opposed it. The same people are saying we want the boundaries to be able to share, wananchi to get a chance, young people get a chance. They want boundaries to be reviewed
You can
through
imagine the
BBI.
person speaking about devolution are the same ones who literally handed over an entire county
No, we
to
didn't hand
national
over.
government.
It's a Jubilee
They actually
government.
handed over. They actually handed over, and they
Ken,
say
you
that
do-
they are
get your
pro-devolution.
first right speaker.
Let me finish.
The
If there is
person who
one,
handed over the
wait,
government of
wait,
Nairobi
wait.
is
If there
the
is one
governor of
person,
Jubilee.
Ken,
It's not us.
Listen, if there is one person who has been pro-devolution, and there is record for that, and I'm happy you are here, you can confirm, the deputy president since 2013 has been consistent, had been certain about devolution. IBEC, the success of IBEC, which brings together the governors and the national government and talks about how much we share. Can I surprise you on simple statistics? IBEC is the entity that has been able to push county allocation up to 29% without necessarily saying 15%.
Okay.
Deputy President chairs that. Most importantly, every time we have...
Why is he not supporting the cause to make it bigger?
Every time we've been having MCA meets ESCAF, Deputy President has never missed to attend. When it comes to the issue about CRA, COB, fights between national and county, IBEC is where such things are done. So what more do you want?
IBEC is chaired by the deputy president, right?
Yes.
But this is now a holistic agenda brought by a BBI initiative. Saying now, let's not about to go and bargain on IBEC sittings.
BBI
Let's
organized
agree that we need 35% automatically, constitutionally, to go back to the common mwananchi. You know, you are trying to tell us, Speaker, on one hand, we are agreeing with the concept of BBI that will change the dynamics of Kenya. On the other hand, we are opposing because of political dynamics. It doesn't add up.
Gentlemen, let me play the video of the week, then we'll come back and conclude this discussion. Actually, I won't even get an opportunity to talk about the second topic. This was the topic. Let's watch the video of the week.
Kienda mbele ni lazima turekebishe uchumi ili tupunguze hii tax, wa Kenya wapate pesa kwa mfuko. Sisi tunasema amani na pesa kwa mfuko. Mimi ndio nilianza kuzungumzia kwamba agenda yetu kubwa itakuwa uchumi, number 1. Number 2, uchumi. Number 3, uchumi. Sasa baada ya kusema hivyo, sasa unasikia yule wa ODM anasema yeye ana agenda ya uchumi. Sasa unasikia yule wa Tangatanga anasema ana agenda ya uchumi. Wewe wache. Mimi nilisimama kule Bomas wakati walikuwa wakizindua BBI. Na nikasema agenda ya Kenya kubwa itakuwa uchumi. Kwa sababu nilikuwa nimeona kwamba madeni yanakumba. Serikali inafuliza kule juu na wewe mwananchi hapo unafuliza. Nikikwambia nikurushie kitu kwa simu unaniambia Mudavadi wachana mashari atiga. Abotige gohe namba yege. sababu tunaumia.
All right, that's Musalia Mudavadi, ANC party leader, who is claiming the economic approach to our politics. Let's end the show. But gentlemen, I have to give you an opportunity because we have to conclude this discussion. We have had what bottom up we've had. We have had what it's not. We've had the promises that comes with it. But now let's conclude by talking about the realities of Kenyan politics. Just in a minute each. How feasible, how possible, Kipto, is it that this idea, this ideology, this policy will indeed be implemented? Or is just another political promise? An empty one at that?
I think if you can be able to check my commentary over the past, if there's one thing that this country yearned for a very long time, was to have politics based on ideas, politics based on agenda. Where we are as a country, we have a case of a collapsed economy doing very poorly. Jubilee regime has sunk the economy, COVID came and buried it further, and the Kenyan voter is more concerned on how to put food on the table. And for the first time, unlike before, the political formations, despite forming on different identities and platforms, the common underlying factor across, and I'm happy, it's a conversation across the platform. And this is one thing that is our best opportunity as a country. You find the Tanga came up clear. Deputy President came up and say, my agenda will be the hustler narrative, and to clot it is the bottom-up approach. Mudavadi, give him whatever the credit. He is honest in saying, it's true, when we are talking about constitutional change, for him, he said, don't forget about economy. I've seen Baba the last 2 weeks. Now he's woken up. He's moved away from reforms and BBI. Now he's seen the light and he's speaking about rural economy. He's speaking about a reform civil service. Ken, as a young person, as a person in politics, I am very inspired, and I want to thank what the Deputy President and his team have done, changing the narrative, bringing to the table the agenda about what can transform. And importantly, the question you've raised, what guarantees do you have for these promises? Yes. The beauty about this is that they have removed the genie out of the bottle. The moment you incite the public around issues and agendas, it will be the same thing that they'll use against you. Okay. It will be the yardstick used against the political leadership. And to show you where it has worked, county governments. In the first term, governors who were elected between 2013 and 2017, most promised such thing. Yeah. And whoever failed lost elections. Okay. So that one is coming at the national level. The issues and agendas are what will dictate who gets what. Okay. And let us give credit that across the divide, the question going to 2022, it will be about issues. Who convinces me more? And importantly, it will be about who can I believe? Who can be able to take us further? Okay. That will be the question.
I should have given the speaker the last word because you're the speaker. But I'll come back to give you the last one. Just in 1 minute, we have to close the show.
I want to agree with my party leader from 2013 to 2017 when he said this country, our agenda should be very clear: infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of development and also human resources. Okay. It's very important for the country to grow. Number two, it defeats my logics every day when I see the hustler narrative. At what point are we going to sell the reality to our people than the political fallacy?
What is that reality? Just
the reality is there's a challenge we face as a country.
Okay.
How do we revamp our economy?
Okay. Okay.
Than giving young people a narrative that with us, not how do we do it, with us, we will give you a chance.
Okay.
It doesn't add up.
Okay.
And more important, which is so painful, Ken Mijungu, if you're not careful, we are going to pit this country against those who have and they don't,
okay,
which is a very serious crime. Look at South Africa. Despite the former president doing what? He's been put inside. He's in prison. Whether you demonstrate or do what, he is in prison.
Okay.
The day we'll accept that our laws are enough in this country, we don't need other policies, we don't need other acts to make things work in the country. Let's follow the law.
Okay. We saw, gentlemen, what happened in Malawi, and just in the spirit of giving you 30 seconds, because you're the speaker and you preside over the assembly, close for us, 30 seconds.
My 30 seconds, he speaks South Africa. South Africa is a ticking time bomb and it is exploding because of trickle down. They never saw the benefit of the fall of apartheid because of trickle down. The money and power is still in the hands of the few.
Okay.
Hustler narrative or bottom up is basically giving the solution by saying every single person of the society has a place and policy must be geared towards them so that we can be able to uplift ourselves economically. The solution will not come from the center. The solution will come from the villages. The solution will come from the devolved system, and that is what we should be championing.
At the end of the day, Kenyans are watching, and they're watching you, Speaker, and I know you have ambitions in politics. You're a politician. Empty promises of the politicians. We are watching you closely. Gentlemen.
Give empty promises.
Because you've not been in power. That's why.
That's why.
Yeah.
We are not in power.
Baba was in power for 5 years.
But you see, the
what
time
can he
Baba was
speak
in
about?
power between
We have to
Kibaki
close
and
this.
Baba, you can see the reforms in Kenya.
During
It's
that
tested.
time. Oh, yeah.
It's tested.
Joshua Kipto, when you're back in Nairobi, I'd like to have you with Peter Imotok one more time so that we have a discussion. This discussion, we further it. I had 2 more things to talk about, but I'll let you go with the bottom-up approach. Thank you for watching News Hour tonight. My name is Ken Mijungu. Damian Evans earlier on sign language interpretation. Imotok and, of course, Kipto joining me. And earlier, Johnston Mudhama, former Senator Machakos. And on behalf of the whole team, have a good night. God bless. We begin broadcasting tomorrow, 6 a.m. Keep it KTN News and KTN Home, because here we tell you the truth as it should be. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And have a good night.